Today on CityCast Nashville, we're getting the latest update on the East Bank development from Sean Seaman, Chief Development Officer at the Fallon Company. When will construction actually start? What's going on with the East Bank Boulevard? And will there be a grocery store? Well, folks, we're going to get into it. It's Monday, September 29th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Before we start the show, I want to note that this episode was taped before last week's news that Bob Mendez, the Chief Development Officer for Metro Nashville, is stepping down at the end of next month. Bob has overseen the East Bank redevelopment for this administration, including working closely with Fallon, and will be keeping a close eye on what happens from here. Now on to my conversation with Sean. Sean, you have 20 years of experience as a real estate developer. You're also a huge fan of the TV show Survivor, which just started a new season. So how does doing large-scale development in major cities compare to fighting for resources on a deserted island?
Yeah, the comparison between the two is probably fitting. And I took a challenging path by choosing large mixed-use development. But I love it because of the challenges of trying to figure out so many different things all at once, be it building housing or commercial development and the infrastructure that goes with it on large, complicated sites.
Have you ever worked on a project at the same scale as the East Bank before?
Yeah, actually, my last project was in Washington, D.C. It was similar in many ways. It was on a 25-acre site on the Potomac River in Washington, D.C., on an underutilized piece of real estate there. And the goal was to create a 3 million square foot mixed-use neighborhood where previously there was nothing. So that project took 15 years and a lot of different approvals and designs that we went through to get there. But we ended up delivering the first phase in 2014 and then the final phase in 2017. So that was certainly a labor of love. And East Bank was calling my name when I saw a project that was almost the same size. It's 30 acres here in Nashville along the Cumberland River, and a huge opportunity right across from downtown.
I'm glad you bring up the Cumberland River because the East Bank is on a floodplain. So why is this the right place for Nashville's next great neighborhood?
Cities historically have gravitated towards the river, whether it's, initially for commerce and trade, but people just enjoy being on the water. I think it brings a life and an energy to a city that where you don't have a river or a riverfront, it's sometimes lacking. I always found it strange that cities exist without water or without rivers. DC was very similar. We had over 20 miles of waterfront. Most of it there was controlled by the federal government. Here in Nashville, there's I think 50 miles of river in the Cumberland River in Nashville and Davidson County, but very little opportunity to get to the water and enjoy it and activate the riverfront. So I think it's an opportunity here if designed correctly, where the buildings are out of the floodplain, but there's opportunities presented for engagement with the water, whether it's for recreation or strolling along promenades or eating or drinking outside. I think it's a real opportunity that would differentiate it from the west side of the Cumberland River.
So you said design correctly. Are you doing anything to mitigate the flood risk?
Sure. Yeah. Everything that we're designing on the site will be out of the 100-year floodplain. So the buildings, in an ideal scenario, will not flood once they're designed. Similar, to what had happened back in 2010 with the flood. That won't be the outcome. The buildings and the entrances to garages would be above the rising water. And then there'd be certain areas like parks and green spaces and the greenways that would probably be within the floodplain that would flood, but it would be designed to flood correctly.
Well, let's look ahead. What key milestones should we expect over the next 12 to 24 months? When will people actually start seeing construction and, more cranes along our skyline?
The next 2 years are very busy for us. I think we're fortunate because the Titans got a kickstart on the construction of the stadium. So it's exciting to go over to the site and see construction happening already. But 2026 will bring two groundbreakings for us. The first will be on the south side of Shelby. It's a parcel that we call G1, one of the parking lots, where our partner Elmington will be developing a 323 unit affordable building as our first phase. So that'll break ground in June of 2026. And then late 2026 is when we're looking to develop and go vertical on parcel C, which is just south of Titan Stadium. Right now, that project is planned to be around a 600 key hotel, 400 to 700, somewhere in that range, but 600 key hotel and another 375 unit market rate residential building, market rate with a 10% affordable component in it. So a big chunk of development, almost 700 units of residential being delivered, hopefully in late 28, early 29 is when that phase would deliver.
Is the Fallon Company going to put in a bid for an East Bank stop on the Tesla tunnel? Gotta ask.
I think we're a little premature for that. I think we'll wait till they get the airport to downtown figured out, and then we'll think about it. More modes of transportation are always good, but who knows?
Well, when is the Dave & Buster's going in?
Probably no Dave & Buster's here as part of our retail program. That's, I think, one of the differentiators for the East Bank neighborhood is we're really trying to create a new neighborhood along the waterfront, not a real estate project. We're taking cues from the East Nashville neighborhood and the existing thriving community there, and then also looking at good examples throughout the rest of Nashville for successful neighborhoods. Germantown, the Gulch, Wedgwood, Houston. I think there's positives and negatives that can be learned from a lot of those. But we're trying to design something that is a little bit more neighborhood focused. It'll appeal to game day audiences that are going to the football game or to concerts. So there'll be lots of activities and retail opportunities for them. But then planning for the other 300 days a year when there's not a major event or not a football game going on, we want to make sure that people are excited and comfortable going out to the retail and walking the streets in the East Bank development that we're starting.
Okay, so the plan is for this to be a real neighborhood. What about a grocery store?
We don't have a grocery store identified yet for the first phase, but we would love to have one. I think there's definitely a dearth of grocery opportunities, certainly in central Nashville. So I think there is an opportunity for one. It's very well located on Shelby, right on the interstate there. So we will certainly be looking for one, probably not in our first phase, but in later phases.
You've committed 45% affordable housing on the East Bank for 99 years. But what does affordable really mean in this context?
It's pretty specifically called out in our master development agreement with the city. We specifically have a requirement for a minimum of 695 units of income restricted units. Those are in two income restricted buildings, and in those two buildings would have a total of 600 apiece. So the first phase, we're building 323 of those with Elmington. And in the income restricted buildings, we have 2/3 of the units affordable to those at 60% AMI or less, 60% of the area median income. And then another third between 60% AMI and 80% AMI. So these are affordable to low to moderate income households and will be designed in such a way that they blend seamlessly with the market rate development that we're doing. And then also in our market, what we're calling market rate buildings, that's actually not 100% correct because those buildings all include 10% of the units that are affordable to the 80% AMI or less.
Well, so let's talk money. My head starts swirling when we discuss the cost of this thing. So how much are we talking about here?
Well, the first phase is about $750 million of development. It really depends which components are built as part of that first phase. So $750 million to $1 billion of development.
Can you give us an idea of how these costs are divided between Metro, Fallon, the state? Are the Titans chipping in? And then how do you strike a balance between public and private investment?
It's a great question. And I am the newest one to the project here. I've been working on the project for 9 months, but there was a lot of great work that happened before I arrived, even with the unanimous approval of the master development agreement, and a lot of work with Metro Nashville government and council on a pretty prescriptive list of infrastructure and improvements that each party was responsible for. It's lengthy and it'd be difficult to go through all of it, but each party put in an equitable amount of infrastructure contribution, and it was usually located proximate to their development. So the Titans, in our world, in our first phase world, the Titans are building the South Plaza, which is just south of the stadium, and are currently constructing Second Street. We're going to be responsible for portions of the new East Bank Boulevard, and then also the areas around Parcel C and Parcel G, those first phase buildings. And then Metro has some obligations related to improvements to the Siegenthaler Bridge. So it's sort of equally divided between all of the various parties, and I think it works really well. It's a true public-private partnership.
We're going to include a link to the East Bank plan in our show notes today. So folks at home, if you want to follow along on all these various projects and parcels Sean is talking about, you'll be just a click away. And when we come back, we're going to get into the East Bank Boulevard that he just mentioned. Let's focus on what the locals are saying here in Nashville. The Imagine East Bank plan was built from years of community input. How will you ensure community voices stay involved as this project builds out?
There's not a ton of residents right in our immediate proximity, but I think our closest area and neighborhood that we're impacting is East Nashville. The ways that we'll engage with the East Nashville neighborhood will primarily be around mobility and access. And I think one of the challenges today is, as a pedestrian, a bicyclist, just trying to get to and through the site to downtown, or even to the site to enjoy what is there now or what we'll have in the future, is lack of intersections that have crosswalks, sidewalks that are of a sufficient width that you feel comfortable as a pedestrian, and just opportunities to permeate through the site. So part of our improvements will be drawn from the Public Realm Framework Plan that was adopted earlier this year. And in that, there were two major pedestrian paths that were to draw people to and through the site. One is casually known as the Music City Mile, but it's the Siegenthaler Bridge and the approach coming from downtown Nashville. And the second was the Cumberland Walk, which connects East Nashville to the waterfront's edge. So it's sort of moving east to west through the site. And that's really one of the main design focuses for us, is improvements along Shelby and Victory, so that you actually have a logical progression from East Nashville to the water.
I think what a lot of our listeners want to know is who is ultimately responsible for the East Bank Boulevard and ensuring it's walkable, bikeable, and a nice place to hang out rather than just a place for cars to drive through.
The East Bank Boulevard has been the primary focus, or one of the primary focuses, in the infrastructure realm for Metro and the new East Bank Development Authority. So there's been lots of visioning sessions and public meetings about what it's ultimately going to look like. I think at the end of the day, whatever the specific design is, it will be a true urban boulevard, a complete street that it's enticing and accommodating for pedestrians and retail activity along the street. It will allow vehicular traffic to get from one end of the East Bank neighborhood to the other. So it'll be a critical spine connecting our neighborhood with the River North and Oracle neighborhood to the north of the East Bank community that's being envisioned here. So I think it's a critical piece of infrastructure. The specific design is less important than getting it going and connecting all these neighborhoods, because I think that'll be the ultimate success for the project, is the connectivity north to south.
So Fallon doesn't have much control over all this?
No, it's most of the design decisions are out of Fallon's hands. We are constructing a small portion of it between Shelby and Victory once the design is finalized.
Any update on the Tennessee Performing Arts Center and where that stands as of now?
Again, that's another one that is not part of the specific design and development activities for Fallon. However, we're partnering with Metro and the planning department on design elements around the TPAC facility. So we've had preliminary meetings to try to figure out how the building fits within the site. I would just say that we're enthusiastic about TPAC as a neighbor, just because having a cultural anchor that's being developed concurrent with our phase one will be a people pump bringing people to the site. So it's all positive and really looking forward to their involvement on the East Bank.
Is any of this confusion over who's responsible for what's slowing down what Fallon is doing?
No, that's I think one of the benefits for starting next to Titan Stadium on Parcel C. That is to the east of 2nd Street and then north of Shelby. It allows TPAC and Metro and the state government to figure out exact siting and sort of the logistics for TPAC outside of our phase one.
You've recently announced a $50,000 community fund to support established organizations in creating opportunities for neighbors to connect, collaborate, and activate our community. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we are super excited. We just announced the Fallon Community Fund. It's a new grant program, and it's built on the legacy and the history of Joe Fallon in our Boston office and the great work that they've done in the Boston community. But Joe's belief is that strong communities are built on meaningful connections, and that neighbors who know each other, work together, and trust each other in sort of shared programs and shared spaces make for a better community and a better environment. But right now, it's a $50,000 commitment for this year, and accepting applications for groups that are looking for ways to deploy the grant funds in ways to help create and establish community, specifically through helping others and helping other groups. So I think it just goes along the lines of what Fallon's done historically, but we're excited to roll it out here in Nashville, and it's something that we hope to continue through the development of all phases of the project.
Hey, y'all, we're going to have a link in our show notes for that. For anyone who wants to apply, the deadline is October 20th. And this just in, I was just told that you have one more thing to announce with us.
You know, this is something that I've had good experience with from previous projects, is just the activation of the site and getting people excited and coming to the site early is a really important part of the success of the overall success of the project. So to that end, we are looking to schedule calendar events basically between now and groundbreaking, basically a year-long lead up to the groundbreaking and the start of the project. The first is Fallon Company Presents. It's a family movie night in East Bank. October 24th, the gates are at 6, the movie starts at dusk, and it's family friendly. You get the exclusive announcement. The movie's going to be Hocus Pocus. I don't think that's announced anywhere, and it's in Wasiota Park. And that was another thing is we've got this great amenity in Wasiota Park. It's a little over 6 acres right on the river. There's an amphitheater in it that can seat, I think, 1,200 people. And I think our programming and events can take great advantage of that and really start bringing people back to the water and back to the East Bank neighborhood.
We have a plea. Can you please get that splash pad working again?
Yes, you're not the first one, but yeah, I think that would be something that we would look to do quickly. Try to get more activation and activity going in the park on a more regular basis.
All right, when all is said and done, is the Fallon Company building a neighborhood you'd want to live in?
Absolutely. I am coming at this as where would I want to live in Nashville. Right now, I'm living in the Gulch and I like it there, but I would like to design the East Bank and the Fallon Phase 1 as the place that I would want to live in Nashville, that has safe and comfortable and, streets for strolling. It has retail and restaurants and entertainment activities that I would want to do, and it's incredibly close to downtown, the center of Nashville, to the Symphony, to Bridgestone Arena, to all the activities that you want to do in Nashville, and it has the benefit of having a spectacular view of Nashville because you're just across the river.
I'm quite looking forward to seeing this development come to fruition. It's really exciting for Nashville, and we appreciate you being here with us today.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, y'all, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!